Geographer Neil Smith defines gentrification as the process by which central urban neighborhoods that have undergone disinvestments and economic decline experience a reversal reinvestment and immigration of a relatively well-off middle and upper middle class population. Gentrification is an ongoing process happening here in the United States. Businesses go to low-income neighborhoods and alter the economy, which then leads to displacement. Good morning, my name is Annabella Novali.
Good morning, my name is Caitlin Rosie.
My name is Natalia Arias.
And my name is John Anthony. Is gentrification in major cities in America justified? As a group, we decided that gentrification in major cities is not justified due to the many facts about displacement. Some of these facts include the displacement of residents, the increase of housing costs, and the increase of white privilege. There are many reasons why gentrification is not justified, but we chose these because they best fit our perspectives. For these reasons, we came to the conclusion that gentrification should not be justified in major cities in America. Gentrification may lead to the pricing out of low-income residents from central cities or from the region as a whole. This quote shows that the government decides to take houses away from low-income residents, homes away from them, and turn them into more modern and more expensive houses. As you can see from this graph, about states in the United States, houses that have the home value in 2016 are 2 to 3 times increased than the home value of 2000. With these factors, gentrification causes a large increase of homelessness throughout major cities of the United States.
To build on to John's point, a study conducted by the mental health and human service professionals measured the mental health of residents in different neighborhoods and scales of gentrification, and both race and ethnicity. The levels of gentrification being gentrified, not gentrified, and high baseline income neighborhoods. An additional subcategory is included in the gentrifying level being moderately gentrifying and hyper-gentrifying, with also the consideration of various racial and ethnic groups being white, black, and Latino. A series of questions were asked pertaining to the mental state of the survey participant, and they had to select on which degree they can relate to the prompt. As a result of the study read, in gentrifying neighborhoods, black and Latino populations experience reduced serious psychological distress, while white populations experience an increased prevalence trend. With this, we can conclude that gentrifying neighborhoods has an effect on the mental state and health of residents in several ethnicities and races.
Gentrification also creates racially unjust cities and disproportionately affects minorities. According to researchers Jason Richardson and Bruce Mitchell in the National Community Reinvestment Coalition, they examined the reduction of residents that were displaced in major cities of America. According to this graph, this shows the Black and Hispanic residents that were displaced in the early 2000s in cities like New York City, Los Angeles, and Washington, D.C., cities with the highest rates of gentrification. Over this time period, gentrification displaced and impacted over 135,000 people nationally, leaving them helpless and compelled them to move to undervalued communities with less resources and possibly more dangerous communities that could affect their future. Due to segregation studies, these minorities experience racial discrimination and have biased networks when looking for housing. This makes it impossible for gentrification to impact these minorities positively due to factors they cannot control. Adding on, gentrification causes unfair challenges to low-income families. According to lawyer Peter Marcuse, these impacted groups either go up or down. They can't go up because they don't have the incomes, units are too expensive, often gated and racially exclusive and or remote from work. This shows that there are many factors that impede low-income families from living a safe, fulfilling life in decent neighborhoods because of their economic status. This also shows the scarcity of ethical concerns that the society does not think about. Although gentrification might have rebuttals saying it makes cities safer and cleaner, this only applies to those who could afford the uprise in house costs, predominantly the white population, but could detrimentally hinder those who can, like most of the minorities in the United States.
To build on to the visual display of the environment, in Brooklyn, one of New York City's 5 boroughs is a main recipient of gentrification. As you can see in the year 2000, we could see that the architecture is less extravagant and less unique. And then you could see in another 10 years in the pier under the Williamsburg Bridge that it's still broken down and less developed. And then jumping to the year 2021, you can see that same pier just with more greenery and seating, ultimately making the environment more appealing. And then in the year 2020, you could see the advancement in architectural design and artwork to make the city more modern and appealing.
Gentrification usually makes living an inconvenience in many ways. Gentrification makes living an inconvenience mainly to the people that refuse to sell their houses. As you can see in this image, the house in the middle has been negatively affected by gentrification due to the fact that they refuse to sell their house for the time being. You can also see that construction companies started to wrap around their house, causing a living to become an inconvenience there. This also shows how they build other houses without regard for older houses in the area. The government is also more involved with making money and more houses rather than the living conditions of the people.
Gentrification, on the other hand, develops as a force that profoundly influences the economic landscape of large cities, stimulating growth and life, especially in the commercial arena. This graph by Urban Institute, which focuses on the communities of Columbia Heights, Shaw, and Anacostia, depicts a convincing picture of this event. Examining the years 1989 to 2011, we can see a significant increase in the number of businesses in this urban area. This scientific study emphasizes the favorable influence of gentrification on the urban business scene. The noticeable increase of businesses depicts that when districts gentrify, there is a corresponding economic boom, attracting and supporting a broader range of commercial enterprises. Even though there are economical benefits, the majority of people are negatively affected by gentrification. This infographic from the University of Texas showcases the people who are most vulnerable to displacement. This includes people of color, people 25 or older without a bachelor's degree, renters, people making at or below 80% median family income, or households with children in poverty. This majority population is greatly affected by gentrification in a negative light. These groups get displaced from their homes as they do not have the wealth to afford living in their now expensive city. It is majorly important to recognize how gentrification negatively affects most people and only positively affects some. Even though there are economical benefits to gentrification, the negatives outweigh the positives and prove how gentrification has an overall negative impact on people's economies.
Although it might be a while until gentrification becomes fair for everyone, there are a few solutions that could help speed up the process. First, affordable housing policies, which provide different programs such as rental assistance payments, loans, and grants for everyone, no matter their ethnicity, race, or other economic state. Next, we have neighborhood stabilization, which according to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development is providing emergency assistance to stabilize communities with high rates of abandoned homes. Last but not least, inclusive development should be justified to protect the safety, rights, well-being, and inclusion of underrepresented minority groups.
To conclude, gentrification results in the displacement of residents and increase in housing costs and living costs, and increase in white privilege. Businesses tend to benefit the most economically but end up detrimentally affecting those outside of the businesses.
And here's our works cited. Thank you.
Oop. All right, Nat, we'll start with you and we'll work our way across. Nat, can you tell me how your group decided to include Annabella's perspective in your overall presentation?
Annabella's perspective about the economy, how gentrification affects the economy, really showed us how it could either be positive or negative. Positive for the cities, making more money with more tourism and more better cities, but could also negatively impact those who are being forced away from their homes.
All right. And John, reflecting on your colleagues' work, which one had the greatest impact on your understanding of the subject you guys picked?
I feel that Natalia had the greatest impact towards mine because the fact that she has the ethics and I have the environmental standpoint, and also how like what they're doing is morally wrong. It also helps me think about how my presentation like positively or negatively affects gentrification.
Okay. What's an example of one of your peers' pieces of work that you decided not to use, and then why didn't you use it?
We decided to not use Annabella's like entire IRR because she did the counterclaim, so we only used partial of it.
Okay, and Annabelle, describe an argument for one of your peers' reports that makes you think differently about the conclusion or solution that you guys came up with.
I would say John's environmental perspective really made me think differently about the team solution because it really explained to the solution and to me also how in-depth gentrification is and how it actually, we already know that it displaces people, but he really went into depth and explained how it affects people in his argument about how they became homeless.